We begin with the latest on the Ebola epidemic. And in the U.S., the first American nurse diagnosed with the virus is being moved to a special isolation ward in Maryland. Nina Pham is one of 2 Texas nurses with Ebola. Both healthcare workers treated a Liberian man who later died. Pham will be the first confirmed Ebola patient treated at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda. She is reported in stable condition. CCTV's Ginger Vaughn is live from Dallas outside the hospital where all 3 U.S. Ebola patients were initially treated. Ginger.
Hi, Elaine. Here in Dallas, we're hearing pointed criticism about exactly what went wrong with the care of patient Thomas Duncan, the Liberian national who died at Texas Presbyterian Hospital right behind me, resulted in 2 nurses contracting the disease.
The 2 nurses diagnosed with Ebola after caring for Thomas Duncan are no longer in Dallas. They're being treated in facilities specifically designed for patients with infectious diseases. Nina Pham, the first Texas nurse to get the virus, has been sent to the National Institutes of Health in Maryland for treatment. The second nurse, Amber Vinson, arrived at Emory University Hospital on Wednesday. In Washington, D.C. on Thursday, a top official at the Texas Presbyterian Hospital told a congressional hearing that mistakes were made, and he publicly apologized.
We did not correctly diagnose his symptoms as those of Ebola, and we are deeply sorry. Also, in our effort to communicate to the public quickly and transparently, we inadvertently provided some information that was inaccurate and had to be corrected.
The national union representing the nurses criticized the hospital and said there was inadequate protocol and unclear procedures. Texas health officials acknowledged there was no Ebola training for staff before Duncan was admitted, but claims all Center for Disease Control guidelines were followed.
A lot is being said about what may or may not have occurred to cause Nina and Amber to contract Ebola. We know that they are both extremely skilled nurses, and we're using full protective measures under the CDC protocols, so we don't yet know precisely how or when they were infected.
Health officials say the 2 nurses were transferred to ease the strain on the Texas hospital. The CDC says it's dealing with at least 50 other healthcare workers who may have been exposed.
Meanwhile, 5 schools were closed in the U.S. today, 2 in Ohio and 3 in Texas, after learning students and staff traveled on the same Frontier Airlines Cleveland-Dallas flight, which that second nurse traveled on earlier this week. Back to you, Elaine.
And Ginger, we're hearing dozens of healthcare workers who had contact with Thomas Eric Duncan are being asked to sign some type of legal document. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, Elaine, Texas officials are asking dozens of healthcare workers who had contact with that patient, Thomas Duncan, who died last week, to sign binding legal documents that will basically require them to stay at home. The top administrator of Dallas County, Chief Clay Jenkins, has said these documents will basically request the 75 healthcare workers to avoid being out in public or riding public transportation, and it's enforceable by law, although he does not clarify exactly how they can be enforced.
All right, CCTV's Ginger Vaughn in Dallas.